Is it red light now? Oh, okay. I think we're recording. All right.
Nice.
Say this is Bill with Driven to Distraction, and I'm here doing another long-term entry-level luxury car review here with my other friend Derek. So the first one was with Enzo, and he had an Audi A5 Sportback that he loves and he's had for a while. And hopefully you watched the video and you enjoyed it and got some information about it. He was really cool about sharing his thoughts about owning it. And Derek's going to talk about his Lexus RC350 F Sport, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So what's it been like owning it? How long have you had it? So far, I think a year or two.
A few years, yeah. So 2017. Wait, sorry, 2019 is when I bought it. 2019.
2019.
So a few years. Yep.
Gotcha. And what year is it in?
So this is a 2015.
2015.
Yep.
Cool. And how many miles? 70-something thousand.
Let's see. 73,000. Yep.
Nice. And I know that we were talking that you got like a routine service recently, but otherwise you haven't really had to do anything to it, right?
Yeah, there hasn't been much. I had the 60,000 mile service that I got about 9,000 miles late. But that brought that to the dealer. Got that done at the dealer, and yeah, it was a little expensive, but worth it to maintain the performance of the vehicle for the long term.
Yeah, it looks and feels great. For 2015 with the mileage that it has, I'd be hard pressed to feel a clunk or a rattle or a squeak or hear anything like that. It seems like it's pretty much brand new to me. Yeah,
it's been driving. I feel like it drives just as well right now as it did when I got it around 40,000 miles. So yeah, I think it drives just as well now as it did back then.
Cool. So some people might be a little interested in some of the functionality of it, right? So I know they can get a lot of that info and specs and stuff like that from other videos, so I don't typically go over that stuff too much. But as we were getting on the highway here, we're going on a little bit of a road trip. You were talking about some of the different modes and when you use them and how to use them. Can you talk through some of the drive modes a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So right now we're in normal mode, the default, and this is what I usually spend the most time in for just daily commuting. It's probably the most comfortable mode. It has good suspension, it can absorb a lot of bumps in the road and things. It's got good pickup still in normal mode. It doesn't have as good of pickup as in sport mode, but it does the job for the everyday sort of driving. Let's see, it handles well in normal mode.
It's really smooth on this kind of bumpy stretch of road here.
Yeah, it definitely absorbs a lot. I feel like that's where the luxury Lexus kind of part comes into play. It's just it does a really good job of kind of deadening a lot of bumps in the road and things like that. So, but then if I put it in sport mode, which we can do right now, a little bit of traffic ahead, but now it's it has more a quicker pickup, definitely tighter handling, tighter suspension, and yeah, definitely. Also, they pump some noise, I believe, into the cabin, so it kind of makes the engine sound a little louder.
So if we were on an on-ramp or something right now, you'd hear it some more.
Yeah, like when we got on earlier. I know it's not in the video, but when we got on earlier, which we can demonstrate in a little bit, but it definitely sounds a lot louder when you hit the gas in the sport mode.
Yeah, it had a really good engine note to it, and even if it's pumped in a little bit, it didn't sound enhanced. It was pretty sounded true to what the engine actually sounded like.
Yep.
I noticed when you were in normal mode, you had an eco light that kept turning on and off in the dash.
Yep.
Is that like a fuel saver indicator, like you're driving eco-friendly?
Exactly, yeah. So if I don't touch the gas, like right now, eco light will be on because I'm coasting, but then if I start, kind of pushing on the gas here to go off, so basically just helps you to be eco-friendly and to save your fuel. I get about, on average, I think right around 21 maybe miles per gallon, and that's not driving incredibly eco-friendly, but it definitely helps. But if I were to really try to have the best bang for my buck, I could probably get close to 23, 24 if I were driving, really coasting as much as possible.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel in terms of interior comfort? The interior looks great. It's got the maroon red trim and black and lots of nice materials. I'm sitting in the seat. It's really comfortable, well bolstered. If we were doing some like kind of hot driving, I feel like I'd be stuck in here pretty well. What do you think? What do you like about that?
Yeah, I feel that it's definitely, it's like roomy enough for, I mean, I've had more than 2 people in here and it's been pretty comfortable, but I think for 2 people especially, it's plenty roomy enough, comfortable seats. It's got the good sport seats where it kind of hugs you as you know, maybe take corners a little bit sharply. And the only I think like downside I've found to the interior at all is just the lack of, there's not a lot of places to put stuff.
Where's your left?
So like for example, like you've got your center console here, which you can put things. Got a couple cup holders, which is nice. And then other than that, like there's like little containers underneath the...
I see a piece of paper in one and it looks like it's full.
Yeah, like on the door, it's just really, you can barely fit anything in there. So, you know, if you're the type of person who wants to have a lot of compartments to store things, it's probably not the ideal interior, but if you're the type of person who just wants like kind of a sporty luxury feel.
Yeah, glove box has enough room for the manual. And that's about it. Yeah, I see that.
Yep. So other than that though, it's pretty perfect. It's definitely comfortable. You know, all the amenities of like, you know, heated seats and cooled seats.
Yeah, I had the
all
cool seat on earlier. It was pretty neat. Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, it feels really nice in here. Have you had people drive around the back seat? I think you just said you did. I've sat in the back seat before. I remember when you first got it. I was like, oh, let me sit in the front seat, let me sit in the back seat. It wasn't terrible. I'm about 5'11", and I wouldn't necessarily want to spend, you know, we're going to be driving like 4 hours today. I wouldn't necessarily want to spend all 4 hours in the back seat, but it wasn't bad. It was plush and comfortable like the front seat, just obviously way less leg room. I mean, what have your passengers said about the back seat so far?
Yeah, I think for any, you know, normal trip, 20 minutes, even 30 minutes or less, having even 2 or 3 people back there, I mean, we've done it and it's not too bad, especially if they're not really, really big people. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't want to go like a long-term road trip with a lot of people back there, because it's a little, I mean, it's not as roomy as the front, obviously. If you're a smaller person though, I mean, I've had some smaller people back there that are completely fine with, you know, enough knee space and things like that. So I guess it kind of depends on who you have in the car, but you can totally fit a couple people back there pretty comfortably.
Maybe like if you're like 5'2", 5'5", something like that, not too bad.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've had people of that size. We've had 3 people of that size in the back seat, and then 2 people in the front seat.
There you go.
That were that size, and was actually not too, the people in the front were a little more cramped, obviously.
So who needs it? Who needs a minivan when you can have a sporty, you know, sedan, you know, coupe?
That's
sporty
right.
coupe, and
you can make it work.
You can make it work. Yeah. I took a couple pictures of the trunk earlier too. I remember you mentioned storage space. It actually looks pretty deep. The opening's kind of small, but you feel like you can fit a fair amount of stuff in there.
Yeah, I've got a couple like beach chairs back there right now. You can fit coolers back there. It's yeah, it's pretty. It's like good enough for any normal trunk stuff.
Trunk stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, like we were saying, it's got the heated and cooled seats, and you said cooled seats work well if it's not like a super duper hot day. Like I have the cooled seat on now just for the novelty of it, and I'm definitely feeling like the air hitting me in the back and in the rear end. It feels pretty nice.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel like I've had it on before where it almost felt like I was like sweating because I was like getting cooled so quickly. I almost felt like coldness, like almost like that
feeling. Like,
yeah, but it was like, oh no, it's just a cooled seat.
Yeah.
So it definitely it works not super hot already in the car.
Yeah.
If the car seats are baked hot in the sun at a 100-degree summer day, it might take 20-30 minutes before you even feel the cooled seats.
Right.
But yeah, they are a good function to have. I mean, the heated seats work great in the wintertime.
That's cool. Do you use the sunroof fairly often?
All the time, yeah. Sunroof's awesome. And the other cool thing about the sunroof here is it definitely, so it's going to be hard to pick up in the video probably, but it doesn't slide in because there's nowhere to slide to, so it kind of hangs off the top, which just looks kind of sporty. It's, I don't know, I think it looks unique when you have it that way. It looks a little bit more, like sporty.
Yeah, obviously, like if you have that, it like adds downforce and helps you drive faster.
It's almost like a spoiler, yeah.
Of course, yeah. Cool. Well, what would you say are some of the pros and cons of owning this car for a few years now? What are some of the things you like the most, and some of the things that you don't like as much.
I get compliments about this car all the time, which is cool.
It does look great.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I feel like everybody who sees it's like, that's an awesome car. What kind of car is that? Like, how much did you pay? Like, things like that. Like, just because people are interested in that. So I think that's kind of a plus. I mean, I'm not a guy to brag about cars and stuff, but it's definitely good to know that people like take a second glance at it, and I like looking at it. I mean, I walk out to it every day and I'm like, it feels I'm excited to drive that thing. It's more so than some of the other cars I've had, so it looks cool, and it is really fun to drive. It has, I think, all of the I mean, without getting up into that like upper tier kind of over $50,000 kind of sports car tier, but to stay below that, it has everything you could ever want, I think, in a sporty yet comfortable drive. Let's see. People told me don't get a two-door car, but I haven't yet had an experience where I have not liked it. I've enjoyed having a two-door car. I think it looks cool, and there's enough room, or if you do have to put a third person back there, and I don't have to drive as often with big groups of people. Let other people do that, which is nice.
There you go. It's like the opposite of having a truck. Like when you buy a truck, everybody wants you to move.
Yeah.
Like if you buy a coupe, everybody's like, I don't want to drive with you. And you can just go, no, I don't have to worry about that.
Exactly.
You said you've like gone snowboarding and stuff, and like you're able to fit everything in here.
Yeah, I've actually fit. So I usually, typically, if I'm snowboarding, it's either just by myself meeting people there, or by myself, or with another person in the seat here. And we can fit 2 snowboards in the back seat pretty easily. The trunk, the seats don't go down, or at least if they do, I haven't discovered how to make that happen yet. But I don't think they go down, so I think that's why, that's maybe a little bit of something to be aware of. Would be, don't expect it to be like almost like a hatchback where you can drop it and have the entire flat. So I don't think it does that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, other things I've enjoyed about it. The interior's nice. The audio system's nice. Didn't really mention the audio yet, but it's kind of does a good job.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's easy, like overall, like maintenance and things like that. I mean, I haven't had like any issues, knock on wood, other than just the routine service, which you pay your $1,800 for your major service, and you pay your just under $1,000 for your minor service, but it's every 30,000 years, or sorry, 30,000 miles.
That's a really reliable car, 30,000 years.
Yeah, every 30,000 miles you're due for one or the other. So it's like, 30,000 was minor service, 60 was major, 90 will be minor, 120 will be major. Yeah. So you do that with the oil changes, and it hasn't given me any trouble. Got to put premium fuel in, but whatever. It's not really, it's like, I think every fill-up's been about $15-20 more expensive than usual with my other vehicles I've had that haven't required premium, but it's worth it, I think, to have this sort of a car.
And this is the 6-cylinder, naturally aspirated, and you have the manual transmission, or the automatic, but you have the manual option.
Yeah, so the episode, 6-cylinder, and it's got the paddles, the paddle shifters here. So that's actually, so going back to the modes, there's the normal mode, there's the sport mode, there's also the eco mode, which I rarely drive in unless I'm low on gas, just because it's the most eco-friendly, but you lose the most power.
Right.
But then if you go all the way to the right after sport mode, there's like Sport Plus, which is really similar to sport mode, but it requires the paddle shifters to be used. So you're basically it's a more like a sporty manual experience rather than a sporty automatic experience.
Gotcha. So what were maybe some of the cons about the car? Some things that you wish you could change?
It would be nice to have a couple more sneaky storage places, like somehow if they could do that, just because I feel like they maybe could have if they just thought about that part a little bit more. I don't know. I'm not a car designer. But I think that would be a cool thing to have. That'd be like a wish for if I could, send this car back and say do something else with it.
Yeah.
My one weird thing that happens is probably more just like a glitch. I have to get reset next time I'm at the dealership or something. But sometimes if a text message comes in and I click read, it'll read my text message, but then the audio will stop working on the other. So like that's just a weird glitch thing.
Because you don't have CarPlay or anything. It's an older system. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'll just ignore the text message so I can keep using my audio typically, and then I'll just read it later.
Gotcha.
Or if I do read it, it doesn't always happen. It's just that's something that I've found to be like, here's something I'm a little bit not perfectly happy about with the car. Doesn't, great level of like, it's quiet in here when you're driving, so there's not a lot of cabin noise.
How about the touchpad? Some people complain about that. What are your thoughts about the touchpad?
Yeah, so for the touchpad, it definitely takes a little getting used to, but I haven't had much trouble with it at all. It's definitely like I'll usually hit the home button, it brings you right back at any time. navigating through it, it's a little bit like sensitive, but it's just one of those things. Just got to get a feel for it. But I don't think there's any. I haven't had any issues where I wasn't able to use it or something. I just might misclick and have to click back to go back and click the right thing.
So you just get used to it after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a really minor thing. The other cool thing, changing the clock here is super easy. There's just 2 buttons. It's an analog, old school clock here, so you can kind of just
get some shots of that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it looks classy. It adds a little touch. Nice touch.
Yeah, so I really don't have much negative about the car. I guess if I was trying to haul around a lot of people every single day, that might be a thing. It's like, well, then why would I buy a 2-door car?
Right.
So it's definitely, if it has everything I've looked for, I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. I plan on keeping it for a while.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing some of your thoughts. We're going to continue on our journey here, and then I'll hop in at some point and just give some of my driving impressions, and then we'll wrap up.
Sounds good.
Cool. We are driving in Derek's car again, and it is post-sweaty karate workout, so we'll apologize for that. But I'm doing my driving impressions now. I have it in the Sport Plus mode. I was just trying to have some fun merging on the highway, and I hit a bunch of traffic instead, so there wasn't much of a merge or anything like that. But we were just talking a little bit about interior stuff and how you can pretty much dial this driving position into whatever you want. It's super comfortable. If I was telling them if this was my car, actually just push it, right?
Just push it to go back to regular. But then you're still in manual, so there you go.
Perfect. Okay, so we're getting into cruising altitude, so to speak. But yeah, I was just telling them, like, if this were my car, I feel like I could do more than the 5 minutes I did, like fooling around with the mirrors in the seat. I could get it really dialed in. And it's really comfortable just for me hopping into a brand new vehicle for me and trying it out. So we were saying, and also how the cockpit's really unique in a good way. It's not like anything else. Like you could drive, an Audi or BMW or Mercedes, and they have a lot of similar kind of look and feel to some of the interior. Whereas in this vehicle, it definitely has its own kind of feel to it and look to it, which I appreciate. I know you said you do too. So
yeah, and I've driven a few other Lexus vehicles just from like loaners and things, and this car specifically has a unique feel to it compared to some of the other, especially the SUVs, of course, and then the G series. I think I had one time too, or I've seen it or something. But,
yeah, it's really low slung, and it hugs you. It feels like everything's within reach. As long as you don't karate chop the shifter, you're usually pretty good in that regard. But we're just going the chill comfort mode right now. We're going to do a little highway cruising. Hopefully we'll be able to get an acceleration or pull in here or there, getting on and off the highway. But yeah, initial impressions, just driving it feels solid, really comfortable, really good at cruising. So we'll try a little more spirited stuff in a minute. We're going to try to do a spirited on-ramp, but judging by the fact that there's traffic today and there's a broken down truck in front of me we just passed, who knows what's in store. We shall see how this handles in the flat. See how it handles in the curves. It feels flat, that's what I meant to say.
Doesn't have much roll.
No. Yeah, I can see driving a truck all the time. But yeah, I'll let you grab that. Thanks. Maybe we're going like not super fast, but fast enough there. Let's see how it is merging. It's kind of trafficy, so. No, you said someone was pumped in, but it doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah. I think I read that in a review before I bought the car about how they pump in some noise, so it's not all from the engine, but it is. I mean, it sounds good. It doesn't sound cheap.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes it comes in through the stereo system. It's just overwhelming or drony or whatever, but not this vehicle. It sounds pretty natural. It definitely differs from the Audi that video we did, where it doesn't have that turbo punch, but I feel like on the highway, maybe accelerating from 70 to 80 or something, it has a little bit better ability to do that. whereas the Audi is a little faster off the line, a little punchier, but doesn't have as much top end. Yeah. And we got a little more traffic, but that was a decent speed for an on-ramp, and the car stayed flat. I would say it probably handled flatter than the Audi did going through the on-ramp, with the stiff suspension setting and everything like that. Did pretty well in this purchase.
Yeah, it's awesome in the snow also. We're not going to get to review that today unless we do a lot more driving.
Yeah, we have to go pretty far north because it is summer here in New England.
But it's definitely, like, every time we have a big storm, it handles just as well as my SUV handles. So
there's a ball. Now if I can just figure out how to shut the blinker off.
yeah, the blinker takes a little.
Not as bad as a BMW. There's that stereotype of a BMW driver. Sorry, BMW drivers, about not turning your blinker on. And I, you know what? If I had to deal with the BMW blinker all the time, I wouldn't turn it on either because it's like really hard to turn on and off. As it is for me, the BMWs I've driven. So I guess we're back in cruise mode, but nice drive. Maybe, maybe we'll have a few more things to compare with the Audi. I'm hoping to put an article soon out for Everyday Driver, kind of talking about entry-level CPO. German luxury, or not even German luxury, but just luxury cars, German versus Japanese, Audi versus Lexus. Which one would you go for? I think I'm kind of split on this right now. I feel like the Audi has got more space. We were talking about an A5 Sportback that our friend has, so it's got more space. Maybe a little more utility. It's got the turbo, so it's got a little bit more off the line, but maybe not as much top end. This car definitely went to the style department. I would argue that it's more comfortable, obviously not in the back seat, but I really like this interior, this cockpit. It feels really good. It feels a little bit more like a driver's car in a way, and I think it's a little bit more top end, like trying to keep going with the flow of traffic, whatever, and just like no effort. I don't even have to downshift to make it up this hill. Manual mode, it feels really easy. So I'm actually gaining speed and not even touching the gas. So these aren't like the top of the line cars, but I don't see why somebody couldn't get into a fun, reliable, enjoyable vehicle that's comfortable, still has some practicality, and not love either one of these cars depending on their needs. So well done.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.